It's time to break down the biggest stories of the day. This is the top 3 stories of the day on KSLSports.com. 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jacob Ben, nominate the youth sports volunteer you know for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at KSLSports.com/contest and listen every Thursday afternoon to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. Ben, you're a Bear Lake guy.
I am.
You know that feeling where you're just sitting in the water, holding the tow rope with the water skis sticking out of the water, and you're thinking, for the love of everything holy, hit that throttle and get me out of this water?
This is horrible.
That's how I feel sitting in this studio.
It is cold.
That's how I feel
I'm really glad I brought a sweater. I almost was late to work because I ran back inside to grab one. And I thought, this was the right decision.
Time for the top 3 stories of the day at KSLSports.com, brought to you by J. Brooks Jewelers. Cherish your love with J. Brooks Jewelers. Explore their expertly crafted engagement rings made from the finest materials, J. Brooks Jewelers. All right, Christian, where are we starting today?
Number 1, gentlemen, the NBA Finals are set.
Oh, I'm drinking Christian's tears today.
Because the Knicks lost. And did bing bong in particularly crappy fashion, because that was a winnable game. They had a chance to send this back to New York for a Game 7, which, everybody would have loved to have that. Would that have been Sunday night? Maybe it would have been tonight, right? Didn't they play on Saturday? Mm-hmm. So that would have been tonight, which would have been very fun to see that game. But they just kind of no-showed. They sloppied their way out of the season, which is pretty crappy, pretty lame. But really shout out to the Indiana Pacers, who are having one of the most enjoyable seasons I remember from a basketball team in a long time. And I'm ready to place them in the grind city, Memphis Grizzlies kind of era of teams or tier of teams that were just like really cool teams, just like fun players, cool players. It was Mike Conley, Zebo, Zach Randolph.
Yeah, there was nothing cool about Zach Randolph.
No, Zach Randolph was cool. It was kind of like a cast-off, right? He'd been with the Jailblazers. He'd been with the Knicks, and everyone was like, this guy's not good at basketball. And he just needed to find the right place. But Marc Gasol was there. I think Bonzi Wells was probably gone at that time. But anyways, a lot of like kind of cool players on that team that were fun to watch. Yeah. And never made it to the finals, but, beat the Spurs in an 8-1 upset and made the conference finals once, at least. And this is what the Pacers are, but they have actually reached a new level. They have reached the finals for the first time since I was quite a bit younger, when they lost to the Lakers in the first of their three-peat, if I remember correctly.
I think you're selling them short by comparing them to the Grizzlies.
They're better than that team. I just hope people love that team.
That team never sniffed the finals.
But they got to the conference finals, and people love that team. That's like a cool NBA team historically, regardless of what happens in these finals. And I hope the Pacers win. I would love to see the Pacers win this series. I don't think they're going to, but I would love to. I'm going to hold them in the regard of this is just a very cool team, back-to-back conference finals, now made the finals, and I'm rooting for all these guys.
Yeah, I'm definitely rooting for the Pacers. I love it that they gave Pascal Siakam the MVP of the Eastern Conference Finals, and he was like, I didn't even know we did that.
Yeah, the Larry Bird Trophy.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Tyrese Halliburton did, because he thought he was getting it.
Nope,
passed
not
over.
so fast. Well, he had he wasn't awesome throughout the entire series.
Yeah, notoriously bad Game 5.
He had a really good, Game 2 was.
Game 4 was awesome.
Off the charts, yeah. I think Siakam absolutely is the key to this finals. If Indiana stands a chance, they're going to have a consistent performance from Tyrese Halliburton, but Siakam's going to have to dominate.
We have talked about the Jazz's all-in trade for Mike Conley and it being the wrong player.
Uh-huh.
The Pacers made an all-in trade for Pascal Siakam, and it was the exact right player. Is exactly Perfect. Who they needed.
Yep.
Good for them. That's great general manager work. That's great front office work. Again, as we talk about what our next story will be, you have to make those tough decisions. When it's your time to push your chips in, are you playing the right hand? And the Pacers are showing they played exactly the right hand, because regardless of what happens, this is an absurdly successful season and run from the Pacers. To make back-to-back conference finals, including a finals run with this core, the moves they have made since trading Sabonis for Tyrese Halliburton, getting Pascal Siakam, signing Aaron Nesmith, not trading Miles Turner. It's actually not like it's an overhaul. It didn't take 15 years.
Right.
It was a few trades over a few seasons at timely moments, and they paid a good price, but not a cheap price. There wasn't a discount on any of these guys, and they nailed it. They hit it out of the park.
They turned an expiring Paul George contract into Tyrese Halliburton. It only took them a couple of years.
It did, because it was Oladipo and Sabonis, and then Sabonis for Halliburton.
Right.
It was pretty quick. It's what we've talked about. You have to keep asset value alive.
Yeah.
Whether you trade Donovan Mitchell, you get Lauri Markkanen. That doesn't mean Lauri Markkanen has to be the payoff. Maybe the guy you trade Lauri Markkanen for is the payoff.
Yeah.
That's the asset value you have to keep alive, though, and you can't let it drop too much, which is why I think there's absolutely a good chance that Lauri gets traded this summer.
I remember the specific show when the day after Paul George demanded his trade out of Indiana, and people were blasting away at Paul George, and it was like, he's doing them a favor.
Yeah.
He's doing them a favor,
Right.
and he did them the favor that Gordon Hayward didn't do for the Jazz.
The irony that fans were probably happy in Utah that Paul George demanded a trade before Gordon Hayward was because Jazz fans always wanted to prove that Gordon was a better player than Paul George, which clearly was not the case, but that the Jazz made the right decision to draft Gordon over Paul George. So when Paul George asks out, the Jazz fans can say, see, we were right. But in truth, Paul George saying, my time here has come to an end, get value for me, was very good from Paul George for the Pacers.
Yep. It was a noble move.
It's why they are where they are today, because Paul George went to the front office and said, I want to trade.
Yes. And Hayward was bitter.
And the Jazz got zero value for that asset.
We're not going to tell you anything.
Yep.
And then we're going to leave you holding the bag and then not even give you a trade exception.
Yep.
I would love to talk to Danny Ainge about why he, the only way that Danny wouldn't be willing to give a trade exception, because it doesn't cost Boston anything.
Right.
Because they have the cap room to sign Gordon in the first place, so they just send a trade exception back in a quote-unquote sign-and trade. It's what happened with Carlos Boozer and the Bulls.
Right.
And nope, no sign-and trade. That had to be because Gordon requested it.
Yeah, don't give him anything.
That had to be absolutely not. Don't give them a trade exception for me. I am not signing and trading.
Right.
I would love to talk to Danny Ainge about that.
Yep, for sure.
Because that's sheer bitterness right there.
Absolutely. Gordon carried it.
That is sheer bitterness.
Yep.
That's a guy who played 3 years with hate in his heart.
Finals game on Thursday night. At OKC, obviously.
All right, what's next?
Number 2, more on the Jazz hiring Austin Ainge as the president of basketball operations.
I assume we'll carry that press conference today at 3 o'clock. You'll be able to hear it here. The Jazz hiring Austin Ainge, Danny Ainge's son, 44 years old, to come in and be the future face of team building here in Utah. And that's what's so monumental about it. Because of Danny Ainge's age, because of the role he was already doing, which we kind of knew was not full-time. Justin Zanuck was doing a lot of the work that I think otherwise a VP of basketball operations or president of basketball operations would also handle. It was clear that Danny Ainge was not going to be doing this for the long haul, and this now is handing the baton over. Now, whether that actually happens today or before the draft, probably not, but over the next season or two, that will be the case.
He's got a very good rep. So I'm eager to hear that press conference. Have you interacted with Austin at all?
I've never met him.
I did.
Okay.
I've met him a few times, but mainly I've interacted with him because PK was covering BYU at the time. I was producing PK's show at the time. And this was when Austin was like underclassman, like freshman, sophomore. But he would jump on their show because PK's down there every day and interviewing all the players. He knew who the talkers were, right? And so he lined it up with Austin. I think, if memory serves, we cut out the sports information department, which I can't remember how that went over. But he would come on, and he came on a lot. Like, he would call in from road trips and stuff like that. Yep. And so I interacted with him in that way, which by no means makes me qualified to make a judgment on his basketball acumen. But I can tell you this. He is very smart. You interact with people enough, you can tell, if they're smart or not. And I'm not saying that he's splitting the atom, but I'm pretty confident in saying he's not a dumb guy either. So that's my interaction with him.
If you were to take the name off the back of the jersey, obviously he's not going to wear a jersey, he has a real legit resume to be in this role. He is not skipping steps today to get this job, right? He played 5 years of college basketball. Won at BYU, was a G League head coach, been a scout, worked his way up through Boston, as a scout, probably very low-level scout when he first got there, which I promise you there are some incredibly low-level jobs in the NBA that you'd be shocked at probably how somewhat meaningless they are or
lots of those.
Or untalented people there are.
Lots of those.
And because I see them and they come and go, I remember Sheldon Williams had a job. Did you remember seeing him around here for a while?
I do.
He was like the regional scout for Charlotte or somebody at the time and was just like at a lot of Jazz games and clearly did not love it. So Austin worked his way up to that through whatever his official role was before leaving the Jazz or the Celtics for the Jazz.
He's the ex-husband of what's her name on TV, right?
Candace Parker.
Yeah. They would have tall children.
Yeah.
If they had children together,
I always thought
they
he
would
looked
be
like
quite tall.
The Ken Griffey Jr. in the Simpsons episode after he drinks all the cough medicine.
Oh, that's hilarious.
He looks
Gigantism.
He looks just like that. Nice guy. Talked to him a few times over dinner.
The nerve tonic or whatever.
Yeah, but neither here nor there. Austin, if you removed his name, does have the resume to do this job.
Right.
But obviously there's a reason why he's coming back to Utah, even though he had ties here in the first place. But the reason he went to BYU was probably because of his father.
What are his ties? His brother ran for Senate?
Also that. Yeah. The Ainges are a Utah family as well.
Didn't he get elected to something else too and decide okay, politics is not for me?
Not for me. I'm not going to do it.
What's next?
Number 3, this just in from Shams Charania, former Ute player and Jazz assistant. Johnnie Bryant is one of 2 finalists for the Suns head coaching job.
Suns have updated every step of the way how many people are officially in the running for this.
Okay, I've got a controversial opinion, I suppose, for you.
Okay.
Or at very least, let me tell you, if Johnnie Bryant were asking me for advice, I would tell him to pass. And I realize that there are only how many NBA head coaching jobs? I've heard all that. But you know what? You're being hired to be fired. You are set up so much for failure in Phoenix for so many reasons. There's going to be other jobs. You know what I mean? And I think Johnnie Bryant's a pretty good coach.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't ever know if anyone's going to be a good coach. I've talked to Johnny a lot. He used to coach the summer league teams, and I'd go to Vegas and cover them.
He obviously knows how to develop players.
He's got an awesome story.
He started here as a player development guy.
And not even that. He was purely like a private trainer for the Millsaps, I think is what it was for Paul, and worked with Paul on his shooting, even though the Jazz never let him shoot threes. And the coaching staff realized, hey, there's something there. This guy's really well respected. The players really respond to him. And Quinn brought him in, right?
Yep.
And as a player development guy, and then turned him into an assistant coach. And then he got hired as the Knicks lead associate head coach, and has been doing the same thing now for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
And Cleveland had the best record in the Eastern Conference. So maybe the iron's hot and he's got a strike and this moment won't come again, but I kind of doubt it. I think he'll be up for jobs in the future. If I had my choice, I would stay an assistant instead of taking the Phoenix job. Ask Igor Kokoshkov, who took the Phoenix job for a year and hasn't been heard from since, basically.
First of all, the team is obviously on the downslope. They're going to collapse before they rebuild. So he's taking over a losing program that's only going to get worse, and the coach isn't going to fix it because they're going to be on their 5th head coach in 5 years, right? Am I right on that? Monty Williams, Frank Vogel, Budenholzer, I think, and obviously before Monty Williams, whoever that was. So this will be at least their 4th coach in 4 years.
I just said it. Kokoshkov.
Was it Igor before Monty Williams?
Yeah.
Really?
I think so.
I thought there was somebody in between it. Regardless. Yeah, it's a nightmare. It's a joke. To the point where I can't remember who the head coaches were because they've cycled through them so quickly. Jeff Hornacek was there before that.
Speaking of Monty Williams, didn't he pass on coaching LeBron to take that Phoenix job?
Because they paid him a fortune, right?
Oh, that was Detroit.
That was also Detroit, paid him a fortune. But they're still paying Vogel and Monty Williams, I believe, there. So it's not a good job. I'm with you. If Johnnie Bryant felt confident he could get a job next year, he should wait.
Or even this year.
Even this year. The other interesting tie here is, we've talked about Will Hardy leaving for the Jazz job only to have Ime Udoka leave and Joe Mazzulla inherit a championship contender. And if Will Hardy would, prefer to be in Boston, Kevin Young left this job that might have been his as the lead assistant in Phoenix to take the BYU job and might have had an NBA head coaching job now had he stayed.
Oh, he absolutely made the correct decision.
And he may have made the right choice.
I think he absolutely made the correct decision.
Yep.
Because, no, it is a sinking ship.
Yep, it is.
With a bad owner and somehow Zeke is a Rasputin again, and that's just not going to end well.
So, yeah, if you're a Ute fan or just a Johnnie Bryant fan, root for Jordan Ott to get this Suns job and let Johnnie Bryant catch the next bus.
Take a better one. All right, more next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present...
This is JJ and Alex.
Tim Reynolds joining us on the program. He writes for the AP.
It's 11 conference champions in the last 7 years, too. 11 out of the 14 have been different. So not only has there been a change in who wins it, there's also a change in the teams that get there. I mean, we've had a new CBA and rule changes within it. The aprons, they changed a lot of things for a lot of teams. It's really tough for teams to get good now from the middle. You've either got to bottom out or you've got to get super lucky or you're stuck in the middle. I think it's great that legitimately 20 of the 30 teams can honestly say we have a chance. The NFL doesn't have that. Major League Baseball doesn't have that. It's great for the league because the league didn't have this for a while. Now we just have new things to complain about. We complained about how boring it was when it was Cleveland Golden State every year. Now we just complain about other stuff.
Catch JJ and Alex afternoons from 3 to 6. Presented by G2G Bars on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.